Have you ever felt like people already have decided on who you are? Maybe because something like that happened in your past, maybe it was a mistake, maybe because of a reputation that followed you. Sometimes people see you in a certain way and it's like hard to change their mind. It can feel like your story's already been written, like written in stone. But what happens when someone sees you differently? Okay, so there's a story in the Gospel of Luke, and it's about a man, this dude, who probably felt something very, very similar to that. The dude's name is Zacchaeus, and I want to just describe the situation, and then we can talk about it a little bit afterwards. So Zacchaeus lived in this city called Jericho. We all know the walls of Jericho came down, right? But I took a while, I didn't notice that he's from Jericho as well. Anyways, the Bible says he was a chief tax collector. Tax collectors worked for the Roman government and was therefore not very liked among the Jews. They collected money from their own people, and because of that, they were despised. And their methods probably weren't always the greatest, right? I'm sure there's some weird tactics that they used that made them very, very unpopular among their people, the Jews. So many people believe the tax collector that they cheated and that they kept extra money. And maybe not everyone did it, but obviously someone probably did it, and that's why they got this reputation. And because of this, they were just not respected among anyone at that time. Now, Zacchaeus was very short. And one day, Jesus was passing through Jericho, and this large crowd was gathering around Jesus. And Zacchaeus like, dude, I want to go see Jesus. Probably heard of him, heard the stories, all the things that he'd done. But he was short and couldn't see over the crowd. So he climbed a sycamore tree. It says, it seems just some type of tree. So he's climbing up there like a little kid to try to get a better view. So this is a wealthy man. He's got a lot of money. He's a powerful man because he's the chief tax collector. I believe they had like guards and stuff with them because they weren't very much liked and they could afford that. Probably had private security. Maybe even the Roman soldiers. I don't know if they had Roman soldiers or not protecting them. But anyways, he could at least afford security. And he probably had it because walking around, he was very much despised. So he's climbing a tree. Okay, this powerful man, wealthy man, he's climbing a tree just to get a glimpse of Jesus. Who climbs trees? Kids, children, right? He's becoming like a child. He's behaving like a child. He's climbing a tree so he can see, just to get a glimpse of Jesus. And then something really surprising happens to Zacchaeus. Now, Luke says this: when Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. What? So Jesus stopped. He looked up because the tree, he's sitting in a tree, and he calls Zacchaeus by name. How do you know his name? Out of everybody in that crowd, tons of people there probably, why did Jesus stop for Zacchaeus? So many people, or most people during those times, avoided people like Zacchaeus because, he had money, but he didn't have any respect in the town. People didn't like him. They didn't want to mingle with him. I bet when people saw him, they're like, oh, crap, I'm going to walk this way. One thing, they don't want to probably show, be like, hey, where's my money? Right? He just didn't have the respect. And many people believe that probably somebody like that, like Zacchaeus, had been in this lifestyle for so long that he could probably never change. So they had this view of Zacchaeus because of his position and the things he'd done. With this man, he can probably never, ever change. But Jesus did not avoid him. He did not shame him. He didn't lecture him about what he's doing was wrong. He just simply said this: come down. I'm going to your house today, dude. Let's get something to eat. I mean, he didn't say that, but you know what I'm saying. So Jesus moved toward a man that everyone else was keeping a distance from. I'm sure like just that in itself, like the walls that maybe Zacchaeus used to have, because people were like, I'm not going to hang out with that dude. So I'm sure he just was like, whoa, okay, this guy is like nice to me. He's approaching me. He's talking to me. He even knows my name. So when you look at that as from the beginning, I always like to go back to the beginning. When God created Adam and Eve, we were created for a relationship. But over time, we forget who we are. And I can see that Zacchaeus over time probably didn't have very many good relationships. Very few people were probably friendly with him. They were probably mostly standoffish and be like, ugh, he probably got that look. People are running away from him. But we were created for a relationship with God, but also with other people. But we forget that that's what we were meant to do because we've had so many bad experiences. Or not that we forget, but we want that. But our experience with relationships is usually so bad often that we're like, I'd rather not open up for that person or approach that person or have anything to do with them. And then believing the labels that people give us or that we give other people. And so we have this thing of where our mistakes, whatever happened in those relationships that we've had, the mistakes, the reputation, the failures that person had, this person had, you had, I had, we all had, is now a label that we just can't seem to get rid of. So because of that, I guess with this, Jesus often reminded people that there's something deeper going on. Zacchaeus' life wasn't over. It was not finished. Like he was still seen by God. And the same thing with everyone around us. No matter what they've done, whatever their past was, the story is not over. So in the story of Zacchaeus, Jesus didn't wait for Zacchaeus to fix his life first. To be like, okay, now you got to change this, and when your reputation is better, then I'll come hang out with you. Jesus moved to him beforehand, before he changed his life. And I think that closeness, that friendliness, the love that Zacchaeus experienced quickly just started changing his heart. He's like, whoa, this guy's different. So, because we see that Zacchaeus later, he promised to repay those he had cheated. So he'd always taken too much money, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to pay him back. His heart had shifted 180 degrees. It's really amazing. He's one of those dudes that you would not think would want to do that. But Jesus saw him. And sometimes people think change begins with you get exposed, you need to pressure people. Your kid does something, you tell them off, or you did, yesterday my kid was had a bag of candy chocolate in the refrigerator. He takes it out and I could hear him in the living room. I was like, what's going on? What is he doing? Is he wrapping something, whatever? Later we found out eating chocolate. Anyway, sometimes we think that change, you need to be pressured or shamed or experience fear to change. But in the Gospels with Jesus, we often notice something very, very different. Like being seen by God, being known by God, being invited back into the life that God created us for. That's changing people's life. Whereas Zacchaeus is now going to repay all these people. So many of us, I don't know if I'm assuming you feel a little bit the same way, but as me, we feel a little bit like Zacchaeus. And maybe we're not climbing up in some tree, but we're watching from a distance. We're observing to see what's happening. Wondering, hey, does God really want me? Is it safe? Is he going to humiliate me? Is he going to expose me? Is he going to tell everybody about my fault, my past, my mistakes? Or does God even want me close to him? Because of the shame and the past and just the story that everyone around us sometimes have made up and the labels that we then carry because of that. So the story with Zacchaeus shows something very, very different. Jesus noticed people that other people overlooked. Most people would be like, dude, what's this guy in the tree doing? Oh, he's short, that's why. Okay, and then you just keep going probably. They didn't see was a person, a human being with a mom and dad, with the brothers and sisters probably, and maybe even kids. Jesus called people that were often rejected in society. that people didn't want to hang out with. And sometimes one moment of being seen can 100% change somebody's life. It changed Zacchaeus' life 180-degree turn, where he's like, I'm going to repay all these people now. So I guess I can go back to like what we started with. And what happens when somebody sees you differently? When I'm seen by somebody, when Jesus sees me, when God sees me, but other people sees me differently. It's that kindness. The crowd, they saw Zacchaeus as a sinner, but Jesus saw him as somebody who was created in the image of God, who was precious and valuable to God, and needed to be loved on, needed somebody to connect with him. So same with you. You are a son of God. You're a daughter of God, the Most High God. You're created in His image. And in Jesus Christ, because of what He did on the cross, and made it possible for us to restore that relationship, our story and your story is not finished. That's the good part. Forget about everything that's been said about you. Forget about everything that's happened. Your story is not finished. You are not unseen. You're definitely not forgotten. And when God comes close to you, you have an opportunity to come back, to turn back, turn your heart toward Him, and experience the life that Jesus died for. We weren't meant to live in this world that we're living in right now. It's crazy stuff happening right now. We were meant for something way better and greater. All the pain that we're experiencing, it wasn't meant to be like that. 10,000 years, a million years from now, you and I are going to be alive. This is only the beginning of an amazing life with God. Now it matters where we're going to be. That's why we need Jesus. We need forgiveness. We need to understand what happened, repent. But there is a bigger story, and that story has only started. Whatever happens here, whatever happens, it's painful, it's awful sometimes, what people experience. But 10,000 years from now, it will just be a long distant memory, because we're going to have the best time of our life for those who choose to follow Jesus. I'm telling you, it's going to be amazing. We're all eternal. Okay? We're all eternal. All right. Love to hear your feedback. If you have any questions, love to hear your thoughts. Any feedback would be great. I hope you're doing well. If you have any questions, let me know. Take care.